What terrible product sells by the millions? Pendilo said. I remember reading once that if they really did double your size, you'd only need to take around 45 pills to touch Neptune with your penis. Moopy Morkafeet said. Heart's brand pet flea treatments medication. It's dangerous and has been the cause of death for many pets. It's a nerve agent that's supposed to make the pet's blood toxic to fleas. I used some on my cat once and she started freaking out, then had trouble waking normally. Her legs were twitching and kicking, clearly out of her control, and tears of brown thick liquid started streaming down her face. I picked her up and frantically gave her a bath, hoping to wash any of the remaining chemicals off the back of her neck before any more of that poison seeped into her skin. Marisa said. My boyfriend was trying to lose weight desperately for a job. He made a list of everything he wanted. He wanted a girdle, to suck in his belly, eggs, and 4 different diet pills. The cost of just one box was well over $50. And he wanted 4. I told him the diet pills will never work, and they might make him sick. Bought 1 box anyway. He lost a couple pounds. Water weight. In order to lose more, he starved himself and ate 3 eggs, once per day, or nothing at all. He would have a smoothie a few times a week, which has several hundred calories. He's lost about 100 pounds, but because he's given himself anorexia. Plan 4779 said. I've struggled with my weight my whole from when I was 7 to now at 21. When I was young, everyone from family, friends, doctors, and other kids told me I needed to lose weight, but I was never at an unhealthy weight, just a little chubby, and I was active. There's one person I can specifically think, who only ever talked about losing weight to me. Always giving me, a child most of the time, dieting tips. When I was in middle school, I even started wearing spandex everywhere I went. One problem was, I remembered people in my family always said I'll lose the weight during puberty. So when I started to lose large amount of weight at 14 for no reason and people said I started to look good, I thought this is great. Then I found out I had 2 types of cancer. I ended up severely underweight at 97 pounds. Plan 4779 said. I went from constantly being told and pressured to lose weight, to constantly being pressured to eat and gain weight. I was pressured to constantly eat while undergoing 3 different cancer treatments. More than half the time I couldn't keep anything down or even didn't have an appetite. Some people basically accused me of anorexia. It came to the point that if someone even mentioned food to me, I would burst out crying. It took me years to finally feel comfortable about my body. At the age of 19 last year, I decided to step on a scale, which I hadn't done for months since my last appointment. I decided from that moment on the only one who could say anything about my weight was me and my doctors. I was going to eat healthy and keep a stable weight after years of my weight being like a roller coaster. I'm happy with my body as long as my doctors say I'm healthy. I don't give a shit what anyone else says. Now I can't stand these diet products that are pushed on people by destroying their confidence. They destroy not only your confidence but also your mental health and body. What job does he have? There's so many ways for him to lose weight in a healthy way. Remember to not make him feel like he's being attacked. He'll resent you and push you away. He needs to talk to a doctor and a nutritionist. If you can't get a nutritionist, he can still find a healthy routine on real medical websites. There's also support groups for men who want to lose weight the right way. I really hope your boyfriend realizes that he's harming himself and recovers. Moosted said. I remember the good old days when people were mad about horse armor. I hate the slow attrition that got us to this point. Paying full AAA title price just for a skin is absurd, yet pretty much every game does it, implying there are people who are paying up. Madness. Zanky said. Kid me was shocked at how many ad breaks I had to sit through when we first got Sky TV as a kid. We paid for the channel and yet I was now watching tons of ads. Back then though I could skip between Fox Kids and Nickelodeon and rarely see them. Nowadays all channels seem to have them at the same time, so there is no skipping them. Mantua Matters said. Fun fact, it was called Fast Orange and was made by Loctite back in the day from Solon, Ohio. Many family members worked very high up in the facility when I was a child, as a pumice soap to help get their super glue off hands. It was sold to Permadex and then Fast Orange was sold to Gojo before the mid-90s. Both Permatex and Gojo are still in business, and you can see the Loctite name brand on the Blue Seal Loctite as well as many other Loctite brand sealers and solvents. Sakurastra said, "Not gonna lie, I'm genuinely curious about what that candle smells like. I mean, I don't imagine it smells even remotely like fudge. I just want to know the angle. Does it smell like roses or something because she's conceited and thinks she has a divinely perfect snatch? Honestly, if it actually smells like apple, it would be one of the funniest jokes a celebrity has ever made. Weird, to be sure, but fucking hilarious." McRibs and Coke said, "We'll never forget 2K18, my red pilling. First crack at my player for that year. Couldn't select the hairstyle I always used, and never had to purchase until then. Had to load up into the town center and hike as slow as a turd to ease to a barbershop. Only to find the style I wanted was gonna cost me 2,000 VC. $20 at the time got me 75,000. It then dawned on me. Imagine spending $1 to $2 actual dollars for a virtual haircut subscription that doesn't carry over into the next game in 12 months. Livid." Zalidus said, "Detoxification miracle products. Get all the toxins out of your body. You already have a pancreas and liver. Edit, and kidneys. Edit 2, thanks for the silver. Edit 3, glad to see so many people actually are educated about their digestive systems. One of my favorite areas of study right now are the gut microbiome and its ever-increasing known impact on our overall health. So far it really seems like one of the most important factors, if not the most, is the quality of care you give your all-poop machine. So yeah, don't consume garbage branded as detox products that fuck your colon." Marla Radical said, "Stuff with microbeads. Seriously, how was this ever legal in the first place and why is it still legal?" Edit, apparently microbeads were mostly banned in the US, where majority of Redditors are from, in 2018, enacted 2015, but I missed that. However, this is not a strict ban as they are still allowed in non-rinse-off products such as makeup or pillow stuffing, and you can order large quantities of them on Amazon. So while this is a step in the right direction, it is certainly not good enough. Furthermore, they should be banned worldwide like CFCs, whereas their environmental impact is equally as bad. Small Salty Mermaid said, "Dental field here. In 2008, when I started seeing tiny, blue remnants of a foreign material below a patient's gum line, I first asked what are they using. As I started removing this stuff in more and more patients, it was narrowed down to their toothpaste. I didn't know it was plastic at the time. Thanks Crest Pro Health with microbursts. Little did everyone know the environmental effects from a toothpaste. I stopped recommended the Crest Pro Health line just based off what I saw patient-wise. Terrible." Edit, I love Reddit. Y'all got jokes that I love. The Crest Pro Health line was never my favorite as many patients also experienced cheek tissue sloughing off with that mouthwash. Thuilion said, "You know those super expensive peaches? My last trip to Japan, drove through Kofu and visited the Fukuyama Fruit Park. Right outside there were several fruit stands that gave each visitor a big-ass peach to taste. Easily $10 each at the markets in Tokyo." Spirit Barat said, "Whoa, I looked this up. It is sounded wild, but very plausible, and the Smithsonian ran an article arguing that they were subtly marketing it for birth control under the guise of hygiene. These ads are frightening women into thinking their genitals smell badly. According to historian Andrea Tone, feminine hygiene was a euphemism. Birth control was illegal in the US until 1965, for married couples, and 1972, for single people. These Lysol ads are actually for contraception. The campaign made Lysol the best-selling method of contraception during the Great Depression. Apparently it wasn't that effective and it corroded your insides and killed you." Dablabani said, "Get a BW Brother laser printer. A cartridge is under $15, and it will last you easily 2.5 to 3K sheets. It will let you run it bone dry too, and let you keep printing until you decide it's bad. My only grip was I had it tethered to internet, and it was preferring Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi is actually really reliable so I just switched to it. Even with power outages it has no problems connecting. I can't say the same for my previous Epson or Canon printers. I paid $99 for the printer, and bought another for $199. I got the price mixed up, for the same printer plus scanner combo when I moved out. I can assure you I paid $200 plus for the shitty ink printers. Edit, mixed up the price on the combo printer. Kelly C. Targaryen said, puppy mill puppies. Sorry to compare them to a product, but that's how they're treated. No one should purchase a puppy from a pet store, ever. This now extends to online brokerage websites like Greenfield and PuppySpot. They're like Amazon. A few clicks and a puppy will be sent to your door, and these puppies are coming from the exact same place as the pet store puppies. Because of people's need for instant gratification, these facilities with hundreds to thousands of breeding animals persist. They are the best cash crop you could hope for. Never believe a store who claims they only sell puppies from responsible breeders. No, not even if the owner has visited the breeders and know they're good. By definition, a responsible breeder would never send their puppies to a pet store. Even pet stores that claim to only have rescues need to be scrutinized because some mills will use a shell rescue to puppy launder. Licensed and certified breeders should be a red flag. Depending on the state, a breeder only needs to be licensed if they have a large number of dogs, are selling to brokers to go to pet stores, or to people sight unseen, online. YMMV depending on the state. People sometimes justify their purchases as saving puppies from a pet store. But that is still investing in the industry and funding their operations by giving them profit. Legislation hasn't stemmed the tide. Only a loss of profit will make mills move on to another hustle. So please educate yourself and anyone you know who loves dogs and might ever be tempted to purchase a puppy from a pet store or online. Either adopt from a responsible rescue, or purchase from a responsible breeder. Mishlama said, I worked at Petland many years ago. Every single puppy there came from a mill, no exceptions. Every week a dude in a van would pull up and open the back, which was filled floor to ceiling with cages. He would grab the ones we were supposed to get and then go make more deliveries. The puppies would be put in quarantine in a separate room for about a week before they could go into the windowed cages for customers to see. I'm being completely honest when I say 2/3 of the dogs had health problems and half of them went back to the breeder without ever leaving quarantine. Tons of little things that management didn't care about, like breed standards or extra toes or behavioral issues, to more severe stuff like inguinal hernias or having severe hip dysplasia at 6-months-old. To add to that, the dogs were insanely overpriced. You want a chocolate lab? $1,500. A golden retriever? $1,700. A French bulldog? $3,200. And if you fell in love with one of the dogs, we were supposed to push financing options on you to sell more dogs. Second most soul-sucking job I've had. Don't buy dogs from Petland. Probably Jess said, oh gosh, they're terrible. My parents bought me my first dog from one. Without realizing it, we drove the 40-minute drive to Lancaster and they told me I could pick one. They were all so cute, and as an 8-year-old, I was so happy and didn't know any better. My parents, still unaware and oblivious, asked to see the parents. The Amish couple exchanged hasty glances but yelled at one of their children, in Pennsylvania Dutch, to go get the mom from the barn. She was fully shaved and looked terrible. Fleas, tear stains that almost looked black, overgrown nails. Just awful. It was hard to even imagine how these cute little puppies came from this poor mother. That's when my parents started to realize. When we got home, my parents started to research and found out that Amish puppy mills are a big issue. God, I wish they looked it up sooner. It was irresponsible of them not to, and all this time later. My little 11-year-old dog still sucks on his toys like he's feeding from his mom because he was ripped away from his mother too soon in that horrible place. Do your research before you regret supporting a shitty puppy mill who treats their dogs badly just because all they care about is profit. Facine Thiblu said, it's not still being sold by the millions, I hope, but the hot gift of Christmas 1975 was the pet rock. It was literally a rock picked up from a beach in Mexico, put in a box with air holes and a cute list of how to take care of it like it was a real pet. The guy who came up with the idea sold more than 1 million of them at $4 a pop, which was not bad money at all in the mid-70s. The product has been relicensed as of about a decade ago by a different company. I'm very happy they haven't found 1 million new customers among the new generations. Not me fault said, Alienware computers. They used to be genuinely top-of-the-line gaming machines, expensive but well-balanced and good bang for your buck. Then Dell bought them and ran the product line into the ground, stuffing them with way too much RAM and way too little everything else but keeping the premium price. The brand still has enough cultural momentum among teenage gamers, however, that they still sell despite the terrible price point. Quarantine Titans said. Pugs. First off, I have no ill will towards anyone who adopted a pug. You are a lovely, wonderful person for giving that little boo a good pampered life. I appreciate anybody who makes the effort to caring for a dog-like family. My issue is with pug breeders. They're not a naturally evolved dog breed. They were selectively bred to have flatter faces and bigger eyes over the last few centuries. What resulted is an animal that not only couldn't survive in the wild, but an animal that cannot survive without humans' modern medical intervention. Pugs suffer from a myriad of significant health complications their entire life. They really struggle just to exist, and it's pretty sad to think millions of these animals were born into these deliberately manufactured genes because they look so cute. Again, if you own a pug, no judgment. Obviously. I'm not going to be a dick and shame people for loving their pug. Quite the opposite. I'm certain they put a ton of effort and money into giving that little love muffin the best possible life, like any member of the family, and I hugely respect them for doing so. But when that sweet angel fulfills its life and gets its wings back, I would recommend a bit of pause before the replacement pug. You could just try a different toy breed, not only to reduce the demand for more pug breeding but just for the variety and dog owning experience. You can get the pug crossbreed, which would reduce the amount of health complications they have. Or, you could do some in-depth research and become a part of a pug breeding rehabilitation initiative, which is a growing association of pug breeders trying to genetically undo the health complications that have arisen over the last couple centuries. Shiguiwe said. My issue with fast fashion isn't people who can only afford those clothes. Off-the-rack clothing was designed to make us regular folks better able to afford necessities. If your options are nothing or a $15 shirt from Walmart and you need it for your job, then fuck yeah, go get that shirt. My gripe is with people doing those $1,000 Shine hauls that then promote a bunch of their followers to go buy a bunch of Shine products which then don't fit or wear out within a few wears that they then just throw out and buy something else. You can absolutely make a fast fashion purchase last if you commit to mending it. But a lot of people would rather not take the time. Jack Grickelshalu said. That sounds ideal, and I hope to go that route the next time I need a new bike. But in defense of shitty depth store bikes, for many people, the availability of cheap bikes is the difference between having a bike and not having one. For most of my life it has not been a safe assumption that I had $300 minus $400 laying around to comfortably spend at any given moment in time. Much of the time that I could have bought something that cost that much outright, it would have been very unwise. It might mean not having rent later. A $125 bike from Target, $200 would have been out of the question. On the other hand, felt like much less frivolous spending. I've had that same bike from Target for most of a decade now, and while it's absolutely nothing special, it's been perfectly adequate for my needs. I don't ride much now, but it was my primary transportation to work for several jobs. And because it's a shit bike, I never worried about being a target of bike theft, even in a city notorious for that. I have taken it to bike shops on occasion and the repairs checkups have cost less than $100 each, which has been low enough and rare enough that I could afford them. Jack Grickelshalu said. That sounds ideal, and I hope to go that route the next time I need a new bike. But in defense of shitty depth store bikes, for many people, the availability of cheap bikes is the difference between having a bike and not having one. For most of my life it has not been a safe assumption that I had $300 minus $400 laying around to comfortably spend at any given moment in time. Much of the time that I could have bought something that cost that much outright, it would have been very unwise. It might mean not having rent later. A $125 bike from Target, $200 would have been out of the question. On the other hand, felt like much less frivolous spending. I've had that same bike from Target for most of a decade now. And while it's absolutely nothing special, it's been perfectly adequate for my needs. I don't ride much now, but it was my primary transportation to work for several jobs. And because it's a shit bike, I never worried about being a target of bike theft, even in a city notorious for that. I have taken it to bike shops on occasion and the repairs checkups have cost less than $100 each, which has been low enough and rare enough that I could afford them. All off my votes said. The first good headphones I ever got was the Sennheiser HD 518. I got it for under $100 on a clearance sale. After using Walmart level shit for years, I was very impressed with the quality. I used it for maybe 8 years, and the only things that needed replacing were the ear pads. I bought a different Sennheiser model this year just because I beat the crap out of my old headphones with daily use. I still have the old one as a backup because at least the sound is perfectly fine still. Spider Boat said. Not in the UK. They had to close it down. Firstly, the public realized it was just bottled tap water and it was massive news. Front page. Bottled water sold in the UK before that was almost exclusively mineral water. But then only days after the tap water scandal, it turned out their filtration system was running incorrectly and the water was over the ppm allowed for bromate. A massive recall ensued and again it was front page news. The funny thing was only Fools and Horses had an episode that was almost prophetic about the subject. Del Boy was bottling tap water Peckham Springs and flogging it at mineral water prices. Hilariously, the Dasani bottling plant was in Peckham. Just like Dasani, Del Boy ended up bottling bad water too. So Coca-Cola was being compared to only Fools and Horses for days in the press. And Dasani in the UK was no more. They closed the plant shortly after the recall when they knew their reputation was in tatters. Hilariously, before the recall, a head exec gave a statement to the press thanking them for the front page news about it actually being filtered tap water. Any publicity is good publicity, he told them. Turns out he was wrong. Sugar and Blotz said. Douching products. I'm not talking about a particular brand because they're all as bad as each other. Douching for one isn't necessary as a healthy woman's vagina is pretty much self-cleaning, making such products unnecessary. Douching also puts women at risk of all sorts of things such as bacterial vaginosis, UTIs, and yeast infections. If she already happens to have one of these, it can push the bacteria causing the infection further up into the fallopian tubes, uterus, and ovaries. It's a useless and dangerous product that has probably caused countless infections yet still sells by the million in developed countries because there seems to be no one saying that a product tied to so many health concerns should not be banned. I personally think they should be banned due to the harm they cause. I however realize that this argument could be used to ban all sorts of the things like cigarettes, alcohol, junk food, yada yada, and that isn't going to happen. I do however think that perhaps this is different because those things are targeting one specific group, especially with the idea that a woman's vagina is automatically disgusting, foul, smelly etc. and needs fixing. A foul odor is a sign of an infection, not a need for douching. One group, women, specifically are targeted here, not society in general, so perhaps that makes it different. Citrus Belt said. I worked at a toy store during the peak of the Beanie Baby craze, and I can assure you that about 80% of the Beanie Baby ladies were just batshit insane. There'd be a fight in the parking lot almost every single time we got them in. I reckon it was twice a week. I remember getting up to the 700s on the numbers we'd hand out. Imagine 700 plus delusional, hung-over spinsters standing in a line for hours, in 100-degree heat. Quite a few employees got slapped pushed, too. The real crazies would try to storm the storeroom because they were convinced we were opening boxes and picking out the ones with unbent tags, etc. before we let customers go through them. The only other demographic that even came close to being as weird were the action figure people, Tickle Me Elmo, etc. was a cakewalk compared to the damn Beanie Baby people. Xlight 666 said. Any kind of automobile fix in a bottle cure all miracle snake oil. Restores power, improves fuel economy, corrects timing, restores shifting, eliminated slippage, stops leaks, removes sludge, etc. There may have been a time and vehicle that these did something positive too. Hint, it's probably a boat and maybe an old motorcycle, but on any kind of semi-modern vehicle the best case scenario you can hope for is it does nothing except cost you money. I would suggest anyone that doesn't know what they are doing to avoid pouring mystery substances into their $$$ vehicle if they aren't prepared to handle consequences. But YMMV. IMHO, you are far better off having a mechanic diagnose the actual issue you are attempting to fix. Edgar Buckle said. Just about anything that comes off the shelf from Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, or any other dollar store. There's a reason that stuff is inexpensive. That reason is that it is garbage. It's poor quality. It took huge resources to ship it here across the ocean. It's designed to be disposable and end up floating around the ocean with the rest of the garbage in a hurry. Edit. I'm not judging people who have to shop there out of economic necessity. They are victims of a system that's crooked. I like what Terry Pratchett said. The reason that the rich were so rich, Vimes reasoned, was because they managed to spend less money. Take boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. But an affordable pair of boots, which were sort of okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought, and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. This was the Captain Samuel Vimes Boots theory of socio-economic unfairness. Wild Hunter said, Dollar Tree is actually everything is a dollar. Family Dollar and Dollar General are small discount department stores who make their money based on location. Don't want to deal with Walmart lines. Don't have a car? There's one down the street. They are cheaply built mass-produced buildings with 1 or 2 staff on site at a time and restock 1 a week, so it's cheap, it's close, and better than a gas station. Their niche is largely poor local people, and busy people who hate Walmart and don't feel like driving to Target. Wild Hunter Sadajikatoth North said, I own a leather belt and leather boots and nothing I've ever owned has held up that well. Sorry to say, but hunting, farming and use of animal products has been part of the human experience for tens of thousands of years and probably isn't going away anytime soon. I come from a family with indigenous and conservationist heritage. My grandfather was a fur trapper, and I take a lot of pride in that family craft and heritage. No dig on vegans. Your ethics are your choice and that's all good, but I don't see anything cruel about using every part of an animal we've already domesticated after it's already died. I think it's honoring the animal's life and making use of what it gave us. Not speaking for factory farms, but if you buy ethically, grass-fed, free-range beef, free-run eggs, high-quality leathers, I don't think you should feel bad about it. That being said, I think hunting is infinitely more ethical than factory farming and personally do not buy farm meat at the grocery store for this very reason. Dollar Tree is actually everything is a dollar. Family Dollar and Dollar General are small discount department stores who make their money based on location. Don't want to deal with Walmart lines. Don't have a car? There's one down the street. They are cheaply built mass-produced buildings with 1 or 2 staff on site at a time and restock 1 a week, so it's cheap, it's close, and better than a gas station. Their niche is largely poor local people, and busy people who hate Walmart and don't feel like driving to Target. SarahWab87 said, for the people paying this much, generally the cost of the phone is rolled into the monthly payments, since most people opt for a phone that costs $1,000 or more because that is what the provider tells you, you need the phone bill is this high. Of course the sheep follow the herd, and everyone gets roped into something like this, which means an unnecessarily high phone bill. Most people can't afford to go to a carrier and pay $1,000 or $1,500 for a phone up front, so they put the cost of the phone as a monthly payment into your bill. The big thing is a lot of people in the US are tech savvy, and they don't know how to get it cheaper, or they certainly don't want to be bothered. I know I don't want to pay over $1,000 a year just for phone service, so I take the cheaper route. I buy my phones separately and they cost about $200 each brand new. You can get phones very cheaply in the USA if you pay attention, plus there's always the option of used hand-me-downs which you can get from friends sometimes for free. Then I pay for a separate plan that includes 1 gigabyte of data, unlimited talk and text for about $10.12 a month. Overall I pay about $120 a year for phone service. SarahWab87 said, also in the USA there is Wi-Fi everywhere, literally everywhere, so chances are you don't need as much data as you think you need. Here's the big thing, the $200 phone is just as good as the $1,000 phone. They both have the same kind of battery in them with the same very limited amount of charge cycles. Your phone is only as good as your battery, and when your battery is shot your phone is no longer useful. Now there's a small percentage of people in the USA who actually do need a phone that costs over $1,000. However, your average smartphone user does not need a phone that expensive. Trust me on this. People are overbuying phones en masse here, because the commercials and providers tell you that you need it, when in reality if you switch to something cheaper probably 95% of the population of the USA wouldn't know the difference because all smartphones do exactly the same thing.